other different types of dementia, and depending upon where the difficulties lie, that in the illness determines the course of treatment.
Yes, you can. All you have to do is want to do it.
Yes.
Want to be it.
When you set your mind to it, and this is who you are, and
the grown men. We have the youth that we need to mentor, and we need to inspire, and we need to motivate. But I know, as a recent conversation between you and I, that you're also in the business of motivating grown men. Through that, I'm supposed to see God in it at every turn. So me going to the Sea of Galilee was to remind me of that, to refresh myself of that. It is all under control, that He does have it. It's just as clear as that fresh water that I saw.
You're Our Unity, hosted by LeShawn Walker, Tuesday nights, 6 p.m. PST.
Welcome, everyone, to You're Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time. We want to encourage you to stay resolute and determined in pursuing your goals. Don't stop, don't give up, don't quit. No matter what the challenges, the obstacles, whatever trials or tribulations you may go through, try to find some time. Try to just etch out a little bit of time to continue to pursue your purpose. It is so very important. Life is going to throw you a bunch of challenges and setbacks, and even some things that you might get stuck in. But don't remain there. Go and pursue your dreams. Be and live your destiny. I am your host, LeShawn Walker. I'd like to welcome you in. Please like, share, and follow. Let everyone know that we're on. Tag a friend. How are you guys? Happy last day of October. I can't believe it. This month has just flew by. It's flew by for me because it literally tried to take me out, my friend. So let me know what you've been doing this past month. There's been so much going on. I was trying to participate in the breast cancer walk. I did get to take care of, a lot of little things that I needed to get done, but I was down this whole entire month. I got sick in the beginning of October, and then as I started to get better, I started to deal with all of these emotional and just sad issues that I was dealing with in my life. So it took some time for me to snap out of it, I'm not gonna lie. But now, tomorrow is the first day of November, and I decided to get out of this fall funk, and I'm going to make sure that I just go into the next month with a new just set of determination and purpose. I seriously, like I said, for the past month, just went through so much. And I'm so sure that you guys out there have your own issues that you have to navigate, on a daily basis. And sometimes, certain times of the month just happen to take you out. Unfortunately, I caught the cold. I caught what I call the cootie COVID. And I was out for a couple of weeks with that. And then, the sadness of just a month of me losing my father and me kind of dealing with that. So I was on a true emotional roller coaster. So I know you guys go through the same thing. I was asleep a lot of the time, trying to get well, medicating myself, trying to make sure that when I do burst into November, that I was going to do it just with this new shine and this new glow. So that's what I'm doing today, hoping that you're going to end the month of October on a good note. If you're out there celebrating Halloween, I came as a pumpkin today, so that is my costume. I hope you guys love it. And again, I hope that you're ready for the month ahead, because it's so important that we ensure that we are feeling well, mind, body, and spirit through these new challenging months ahead. The season for shopping is coming up, the season for cold weather and the winter season, and the time is going to change as well. And I'm sure you guys, a lot of you entrepreneurs and you moms and dads out there are also very busy at this time of year. So I hope that you're taking some time to just love on yourself a little bit, but please, regardless of all of that, just stay determined to complete whatever goals that you've placed in front of you, not just last month, but for just the rest rest of the year. So as I mentioned, I have been quite busy, even if I haven't been able to attend a lot of the events that I had planned for this month. I did still support in some way. I peeled myself out of the bed this past Saturday so that I can join my friend Shefik. He invites me to all of these amazing events. So this past Saturday, I celebrated an event called Harambe. So I'd like to discuss with you this week in Unity in the community. About Harambe. Now, Harambe is a Kenyan tradition of community, self-help events, fundraising, or development activities. The word means all pull together in Swahili, the concept being pulling the country together to build a new nation. So this past Saturday, I was part of what the Dallas Harambe Festival that is held in Dallas every year for the past 49 years, actually. And my friend Shefik actually has been hosting it for the past 4 or 5 years here in Yonkers, New York. So he invited me on to share our unity with the people in Dallas and anyone else who was watching. And it was amazing. The Harambe Festival in Dallas is a community-based educational and cultural event that was created in the early 1970s by the founding members of the Harambe Festival Steering Committee, a group of community-minded citizens who gathered at the Martin Luther King Jr. Community Center to form an alternative to Halloween. Their objective was to organize a celebration that would provide a positive cultural experience for children and adults. For the past 49 years, that organization and its objective has become quite a success with well over 5,000 people attending. So, Sir Shefik, as you see there, he was interviewing the young ladies of the YWCA's Pearls Girls organization. It is about prevention, empowerment, academics, recreation, and leadership. He interviewed these fine young ladies and shared everything that they have going on in their world, what they're getting out of the program, and basically showing everyone in Dallas all the wonderful things that the Pearl program has instilled in them. It is a program focused on building a foundation for girls between the ages of 10 and 18 years old. The Pearl program provides a fun and safe place for teens to be themselves as they navigate through teen life. It was awesome. I truly, truly enjoyed it. On top of that, I learned so much about these young ladies. They were so smart, so engaged. They were ready to share their stories. They were excited about getting on the mic. And Sir Shefik, he had us all in stitches. So the foundation out in Dallas, they had the festival originally based to be outside, and unfortunately it rained so hard that morning, so they had to bring it inside. So all the vendors and all of the people that attended, they still enjoyed a full festival, but I think that unfortunately they didn't get outside and enjoy the sunshine like we had here in New York. So again, YWCA in Yonkers, the Harambe Festival. It was amazing, and I advise you guys, if you have any type of organization that is bringing communities together in your community, please take advantage. Go and support. Attend these amazing community organizations because it brings people together and it also unifies us in a huge way, sharing what each other is doing and also allowing us to see the so many different educational programs and the services that are available to us. So take advantage if you haven't already. So the last picture there was of myself. So as I was sitting there at this event, feeling okay, not my best, but I was still feeling okay. I was sitting there just in wonderment about all that I have experienced in this past month and everything that I have to do. And my friend Shefik just randomly took that photo, and I was so impressed when I received it because I said to myself, I had to be in some serious deep thought at that moment. The photo says, I am woman. What is your superpower? My superpower is that I am a determined woman. So regardless of everything that I went through this past month, the sadness and the cold and, just not being myself completely, not having that same energy and that same vibrant fire and that light that I usually have. I am ready to move into November 1st with that. That energy that I lost, I've refueled myself, I've restored myself, I've rejuvenated myself these past couple of days, getting ready for all that is in store, and also preparing for that growth and for the challenges, the new challenges that I will have ahead. But I remain resolute and I remain determined to do so. So I hope that you guys are planning to do the same for the last few months of 2023. Remain resolute and remain determined to accomplish all of your goals. They're so worthy of being accomplished. God put them in you for a reason. Pursue your purpose with passion. Today, I want to share with you someone else who is doing that very same thing. My guest is amazing. She is a woman that is just thriving and growing and is empowering others along the way. I want to introduce you to this determined woman, and her name is Eunice Santiago. Eunice Santiago is the president and chief executive officer, and first the determined woman, for the New York League of Puerto Rican Women Incorporated, a nonprofit scholarship league led by Puerto Rican women in New York State. The NYLPRW is one of the state's only organizations with a focus on the Puerto Rican Hispanic women and her ability to provide a better life for herself and her family through higher education. Eunice works with the community to obtain funds and awareness of scholarship opportunities. NYLPRW has presented over 140 scholarships in the past 15 years, and she has presented awards to the honorees in the community who have worked hard and thrived in empowering the Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Latino communities. Eunice is also a licensed mental health counselor working as a psychotherapist for the community, particularly the immigration population, Hispanic, Latino, and Black, Indigenous, people of color communities. Eunice continues to advocate in the community for human rights, women's health, disparities in education, and mental health. Eunice is the first generation to live and study in the United States. She is a single mom who raised her only daughter with the support of her loving family. She is grateful to her father and daughter for believing in her and motivating her to continue her education and being a great role model. She is here to share with us, her determination and drive for life and fulfilling her goals. Please help me welcome the beautiful Miss Eunice Santiago. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you for being here, my friend. I know it was a lot. We both had so much to do to get here, but we are here, and I am grateful.
Yes, and we're feeling better. Thank God to that, because I also was sick, but we've overcome it.
Yes.
We're here, and we're doing the mission.
Yes, that's what I said. And even though, like I said, it's going to happen. We're all going to go through something. You just still have to keep mustering through it. And so even though I'm not feeling my best, I'm not contagious. But yes, I can still hear, this sort of stuffiness in my head. And also, me rambling and scrambling all over my words. But
No
I'm going to take a little sip of my water right
Let's
now.
do it together.
Mm-hmm. Cheers. And again, welcome here. Welcome not only for everything that you're doing and the fact that we want to talk about your story, but also I want to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. We're the last day today. So I didn't get a chance to have a guest on. I was out a couple of days. So I want to also speak to your pride and your culture and your love for your people as well, okay?
Yes.
So usually when I welcome my guest in, first question I ask is to please just tell us a little about your background, your childhood. Give us a little story about who Eunice is.
Me? No. Well, I am first generation Puerto Rican, raised in New York City, in the midst of the 70s and 80s, which was a hard time, where Spanish, Hispanic, Puerto Ricans weren't given opportunities in a lot of places, whether their last name, their skin color, or education. Certain education opportunities weren't given to them. So my father always told me as a young girl, make sure you get educated. Make sure you become something of yourself. Make sure that you don't lose who you are, but at the same time, don't forget your roots, but also when you have the opportunity, give back.
Yes.
Pay it forward. And also bring awareness to others. So that's what I did. I saw my parents struggling, and I was like, yeah, I have to make a change. And at that time, there was not a lot of colleges available for them to go to. There was just building colleges, and it's hard.
Yeah.
So seeing them wanting to make a difference in their lives for their children impacted me. It's like, no, I have to do this for me and for them.
Yeah.
I have to make these changes because I also have a daughter, and I want her to see, that I can do it.
Yeah.
And she can do it too.
Yeah.
And she will do it.
I love
because
that.
I did it.
Exactly, because you did it, my friend.
Yes.
And I love the fact that, your parents introduced that to you at a very young age. The fact that whatever you put your mind to, that you'll be able to accomplish it. When they were here, and I know, like you said, they struggled. They still saw the bigger picture, though, right? Let me ask you, what were their dreams and aspirations for even themselves, if you know, at when you were younger? What did they want?
Well, my father and my mother, when they came here, they was excited because they were like, oh, we're in America. And if I give you a background from my grandparents on both sides were farmers.
Oh, wow.
And my grandmothers were home takers. So if my parents would have stood there, that would have been something that they may have been passed down to.
Right.
And they wanted something different.
Yeah.
It's funny how fate brought them together because they were in the same town but didn't know each other until they met here in the United States.
Wow.
Yes. And when they got married, I'm the firstborn, so I see everything, hear everything, learn everything.
Right.
Whatever happens is, I'm there.
Right.
But my father was like, I don't want you to struggle.
Yeah.
And my sisters too, because it was 3 girls.
Oh, wow.
For you to get educated, I want you to become someone and have a career.
Yeah.
My father, when he came here, he knew music.
Right.
So what he did as a profession, on his side time, it was a percussionist. So he was like, so he used to play the congas, which is the bongos,
Right.
and play in a lot of events with a lot of musicians. And that's how he felt he gave back.
I love that.
Yeah, so he was really, really into it. And, every event he went, he would come home. He's like, look, I did this weekend. This is part of our culture. This is our music. This is the singers. This is what's going on. This is the art.
Yes.
Because, back then, the TV, even the Spanish TV, you've seen a lot of Mexicans, a lot of, you didn't see a lot of Puerto Ricans in TV.
Right.
Which is it's not a bad thing. It's
Right.
a good thing because you still see within those 3 channels that was available.
That you would be that you could at least understand what you were watching. And it did still show you the culture. It was just, a difference.
But it was nice because you was able to connect with someone who spoke your same language,
Right.
who ate your same food.
Yes.
And you was able to enjoy it. I remember Saturdays, we used to watch Saturday morning cartoons, but then in the evenings, this is a big thing in the Hispanic culture and the Latino culture, which is Sábado Gigante. Like a 7-hour show, but they were so dedicated because it was like, because this man would talk about different nationalities, different cultures, but it was like a big show. So it was like, my parents were happy, I was happy.
Yeah,
and it was like, my parents were like, at home, you speak, you read. This is what we're doing, the native language at home, and then at school, you speak English and you do what. You write English over there, but over here, we're going to keep it.
I'm glad that they wanted you to be bilingual instead of just pushing, the English language and still wanting you to celebrate your culture in the midst of that. So how was that, as you were younger? How was it, celebrating your culture with your American friends and sort of repping, your Puerto Rican heritage? How was that when you were growing up?
It was hard.
Really?
Yes, because I grew up in the Lower East Side, but the side that I grew up in was towards Chinatown. So in that community, it was a lot of Chinese, Asians, very few, the school that I went to, very few African, Black Americans. There were some Americans in there. The Hispanic population was there, but we had to connect and find each other and meet each other when I went to junior high school, it's also again like who looks like me, who can I connect to, who can I speak to my language at lunchtime. And then high school was the same thing. High school was more of variety, but even the upbringings, you know, who your friends are, introducing and telling them what rice, beans, and chicken is, you know, they're like, okay. You know, and it's different because it's like you want to bring your friends home, but it's like, you know, we had a different way of doing it. So the only families we were able to connect is our own family, our own community. So if it was in the church, in my neighbor, which is I grew up in Orchard Street, so it was my cousins that lived down the block.
Oh, nice.
And then I had other families that lived in the neighborhood. So you know, my mother was like, okay, you can go to this home. You can go here, but you got to make sure you come home here, and, you know, vice and versa, you know.
Oh, my goodness. So you weren't really able to kind of branch out into the different surrounding cultures and friends, community of friends that you had in school. That's interesting because I'm going to tell you something. When I was in junior high school and elementary school, I was in a very diverse community. I lived in Queens, so I had the same, a lot of Chinese, I had a lot of Spanish friends, I had a lot of Haitian friends, like I had a lot of German friends. Like it was amazing to me, you know, the melting pot that I was immersed in. And I was curious about every single nationality. I wanted you to teach me Spanish, I wanted you to teach me Chinese. Some of my best friends, I used to listen to Menudo. I think I've even watched that show that you're talking about for 5 or 6 hours with my girlfriend. So, you know, I was into repping other nationalities and cultures because I love the beauty of them and the difference of them. So I find that so interesting. But I did have friends that their parents were like, well, you know, if LeShawn comes, you know, it's just going to be LeShawn. Like, you're not going to invite the whole neighborhood. And they did want them to stay sort of within their own community, you know. And I guess because you can relate, you can talk, and you know the person a little better. But yeah, I loved it. I really, really did. And I got so much out of it as well. How important do you think it is for, you know, the young kids today, you know, to respect and honor and celebrate other cultures, especially Hispanic culture?
I think it's very important. And the only reason I say this is because for me, you know, when I had my church family, growing up, that was my community. That was a go-to. That's where I saw diversity, and I saw, you know, we enjoyed each other.
Right.
Because my parents didn't allow us to leave a certain perimeter. We had to stay in between like, you're not going past the street. You're staying right here. Like, so as I got older, you know, and when people hear my story and know the neighborhood, you know, and you think of Lower East Side, Lower East Side was a lot of predominantly Hispanic people, rich in culture.
Right.
But, you know, my father and my mother didn't allow us that side.
Right.
So we just stood here. But growing up, for me, once I was able to visit those places and see, I was like mesmerized. I was mesmerized with the work done by Maria Dominguez. I was mesmerized by seeing Chico's graffiti work. You know, I was mesmerized by seeing other dynamics, being in a community where the language was spoken in the streets.
Right. Yes.
Where you're like, oh my God, okay, I understand what they're saying. Okay, it felt like you was entering into a new town. And when I found out, I was like, oh, I don't want to leave. But I was like, I got to go home. And it awakened me. Like, you know, a lot of different things enlightened me. And that's where I was like, okay, when I get the opportunity, I will make sure that I will come back, pay a visit, and then give back more.
I love that. I love that. Now, you know, you're at your tender young age and you're seeing this big world that your parents are trying to prepare you for. What were your hopes and dreams back then?
As a little girl, I wanted to be a teacher. And my father wanted me to be a judge.
Really? Where did that come from?
I was like, but I told him, I was like,
oh my God.
I was like, Judge, I was like, Dad, what is a judge? Because I'm like, I was like, I know what a teacher is because she's educating me, but I don't know what a judge is. He's like, no, I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to be a judge. I want you to be a doctor. I want you to be more than that.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. So then he would tell my little sister, he's like, you're going to be a lawyer. And then my other sister, you're going to do this. And it's like, we're at the beginning, we're like, yeah, okay, whatever dad says. But then
Right.
as we got older, we're like, wow, there's a lot of steps into this. I mean, if you want to be a judge, I know a lot of resources I can guide you to
Right,
be
right,
there.
right, right.
That wasn't in my passion. That was not my passion or goal. My goal at that moment was teaching.
Yeah.
Because I felt I can give back.
Yeah.
And I did it for a while, but then I decided to change majors into mental health.
Oh, wow.
But we'll get into that.
Yeah, yes, we will. Did you have a thirst for learning back then? Could you tell that even at that young age, which is why you wanted to be a teacher? Was it, you just wanted to share education with children, or was it just that thirst and that drive to learn?
It was that thirst and drive to learn. But it was also for me going into the school where I didn't see a teacher like me. And I was like, no, I don't see a Hispanic Latina here.
Yeah.
I want to see something different.
Yeah.
And the positions I had was differently. And I was like, yeah, I respect it because you're young, but I was like, no, I want to be a teacher, but can I be a teacher?
Exactly.
Because, the school I went to, most of the teachers were predominantly white. And maybe one or two Asians, Chinese in the school. So it's not, you didn't have a variety in teaching.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I
Even in the Spanish language, because I'm sure they taught Spanish in the school, right?
not in public school.
Really?
Not in the 70s, 80s.
Wow.
Not in the school I went to was a school like Orchard Street and Hester. Around that time, they didn't have it. And I remember there were families that had children that were ESL. Like, for example, me going into kindergarten, not knowing the language, because all I spoke was Spanish. I was just thrown in the mix, and I had to learn it. Wow. I would come home speaking,
sink or swim.
Yes, speaking gibberish. And my mom was like, I don't understand what you're telling me. And I was like, she's like telling me in Spanish. And I was like, okay, I think this is, she's like, okay, we're going to learn together.
Yes.
So I felt that through me and my siblings and myself, we taught my parents how to read, how to write, how to speak, and they were able to prepare themselves.
Yes.
So like, as we were doing the homework, my mom was doing homework with us. Okay.
I love that.
Yes.
I love, love, love that. I think that's also needed in a lot of communities now, that relationship that the student could actually be the teacher to the parent, And I know they really was happy about that as well, right? That you and your sister was actually motivating them to learn the language and prepare them for something bigger, right?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That is amazing. That's amazing. Well, now you're on this path in your mind to be a teacher. Though your father wanted you to be a judge, you still had other plans. So you're in high school, you're now in college. Did you go to college initially? Okay, so you went to college. How did you like it? How did you navigate college? College
was good. My first 2 years, it was a transition for me, because when you're in high school, you have all these days off, and in college you don't.
Yes. You're an adult now, my friend.
You're an adult.
Even if you don't want to believe it.
Yes, yes. So then I ended up getting a part-time job because I wanted to give back. Like I wanted to help at home, and I told my parents, let me help out.
Right.
I'm going to college in the mornings. I can get a part-time, and I'll help around the house. And then my parents my mother seeing that I did it, and I'm doing it, it motivated her to go back to school. Wow. She went back to school, and then she started working, and I was like, Mom.
I love it. I love it. So are you the first generation college graduate?
For my family.
For your family. That is awesome. And look how you inspired and encouraged your mom. I think that is amazing. So when did you have your daughter? Because I understand you are a single mom as well. So what age did you have your daughter? Was it in between you going to college or after?
I had her after my associates.
Okay, all right. So you having your daughter, now you are planting seeds in her. The same very things that your parents were trying to show you, now you are instilling in this little girl. How was that? You being fresh out of college, getting your associates, and now you are a mother. How was that?
It was a beautiful moment for me.
Okay.
And, when I found out, because initially the doctors told me, oh, Miss Santiago, you have some difficulties, you may not have a child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was hard. I was married, and like a year or two, of trying, it didn't work, and then all of a sudden, I got pregnant. I didn't know I was pregnant until 2 months later.
Wow.
And when I went to the hospital, I was like, there's something wrong with me. I found out, and when I found out, I was so excited. I was like, ah! The first person I told, I was like, Mom, I have to have a serious conversation with you. She was like, oh my God, are you okay? And then when I spoke to her, she tells me, this is something you got to tell your dad. I was like, I can't give this news to your dad. You have to do it. So I had the conversation. I was like, Dad, I got to tell you something, but it's kind of hard for me to tell you because I'm your daughter, and I don't know how you're going to react to this.
Yeah.
But I told him, you're going to be a granddad. Wow. And he was like, he looked at my mom. He looked at me, and he was like, I got to pause for a second. And he was like, did your mom tell you to tell me? Yes, I was like...
You had to call a meeting for me to know?
Yes,
Yes.
I was like, yes, Mom told me to tell you because she said she couldn't tell you. So as a family, I'm telling you that, you know, you're expecting a grandchild. I don't know the sex yet. I remember that after that moment, that they got the information, they were so happy. And it was like, you're still going to instill the roots into them. You're still not going to forget your culture. You're still going to speak the language to her, read and write. I was like, yes, Dad, I'll do it. My pregnancy.
Yeah.
And I remember throughout my whole pregnancy, my parents used to visit me all the time. My mom used to cook. I used to go to see my mom to cook, but then my father would come every day, like, you know, I just want to make sure you're my first daughter. You're having my first grandchild. I want to make sure you're doing good. You know, my sisters would come and visit me, and literally every day until I had Angelique.
Oh my God, I love it. I think we got a picture of you and your beautiful baby, your daughter. She's not a baby anymore. She's beautiful, actually, too.
Thank you.
But okay, so you are now a new mom. What challenges, if any, see, she is just a beautiful sight to behold. She really is. So tell me a little about, you know, the challenges, because I know that, you know, even though you had this plan and you had the support of your family, I know it still had to be difficult. You're trying to etch out this path, this dream that you were wanting to accomplish. And I don't know if that was in your plan to be a mom, but that, you know, at that age, but what challenges did you sort of come up against, you know, for young ladies out there that are, you know, pursuing their dreams right now and just life happens?
Well, I got two challenges that presented to me. The first challenge is that I was married to my daughter's father, and we ended up separating. Throughout that time, my daughter was like a year or two. And that's another hard conversation I had to have with my parents, because that's like the first divorce in the family. And they're like, oh. You know, and the first thing is like, what went wrong? And finding out that I was going to be a single mom, I told them, I was like, I need to have a conversation again, but this time it's going to be a little different. I'm going to be you know, I separated from my daughter's father. We separated, and I'm going to be a single mom, and, you know, I want to know if I have your support in this. Because I know that once you get married, you're expected to, you know, I was living with my daughter's father. We had a home, but then the things change because your family expects, okay, you leave, you do what you got to do. And I had to have that conversation. I was like, where do I stand? Do I have the support, or am I on my own? Because then I need to know what my next step is. And, you know, my parents were supportive. They didn't like the idea of me being the first divorce because, you know, the church community. And then, you know, the family. But they were there for me, and I couldn't continue my education because I had to be a single mom. I had to work, you know, depending on my parents to care for my daughter, and then my sisters, and then after school. Then years later, the passing of my father was hard. Yes. That was hard because he was a very important part of my life and part of my daughter, you know. I chose him to be my daughter's godfather.
Wow, your dad. Oh my God, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I did, because I had a good relationship with him, and I had a good relationship with my mom, and I had a good relationship with my daughter's father and their family. So we were, you know, when that happened, you know, is having that conversation to a 7-year-old that, you know, we're no longer going to have these visits. Things are going to change. You know, I have to put you in after school. And even with that, you know, my job was like, we need another degree from you because this is not
sufficient enough for you.
And if you want that raise, if you want to excel, you got to make some changes. And, you know, after the mourning and after the passing, it took me a while. I was like, you know what? This is the time for me to go back. And when I went back, I left the job because I was like, yeah, I don't think what they want me to do I can achieve.
Right.
Because I was working as a legal secretary.
Okay.
Because I wanted to achieve my father's goal somehow.
Oh, to be a judge.
Yeah, but I just like stopped.
Right.
And I was like, I can't continue with the circumstances that I'm in now.
Right.
What is it that I want to do?
Yes.
And how can it be attainable for me?
Mm-hmm.
And going to school with my daughter, taking her to school, picking her from after school, you know, doing homework with her, it reminded me of my mom, and it reminded me of that little girl that was like, I want to be a teacher because I want to see more like me.
Yeah.
And that's when I went back to school and I got my bachelor's in education.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught for a while. And it was a good experience.
I love that. What was that determining moment? Everything that you, well, 2, 3 things you said to me. First, that you lost your father when your daughter was 7. That was the same with me, with my daughter. She was 7 years old when my father passed. And it was a very hard time for me to deal with it because I know, just like me, your daddy's little girl, you know, and your father is your rock. And you could never imagine your life without him. But yet you have this little girl that you have to raise, and then you have to instill the same qualities that your dad did. So what did it take for you to come out of that grief, that funk that you were in?
It was hard because I am the oldest in my house. So I always told my father and my mother that I have to set an example.
Yeah.
At home, I had to make sure I was in good behavior.
Yeah.
My academics was in good standing. There was no acceptable below grades. I had to excel. So, you know, maybe that part may be an overachiever for me. But what I can say is that it took a while. And grieving, I felt that during that time I didn't. Because I was worried about my sister. I was worried about my mom. I was worried about my daughter.
Yeah.
I was worried too many about other people that I wasn't worried about myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until later that, you know, I was able to, like, in that moment, like, okay, I'm ready to grieve my father. I'm ready to do a lot. I'm ready to honor him the way he deserves to be honored.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very important. That's actually what ended up happening. Our stories are so similar. It's amazing. Because I had to go through that sort of path as well. It was very hard. And you do stay stuck in it, you know, for a while, but you're also taking care of everyone else outside of yourself. And I was doing a lot of that, just maintaining, you know, the business at hand, but not worrying about, you know, what was going on inside of me. So I'm so glad that you snapped out of it. Now you know what you want to do. I'm going back to school. I'm going to be a teacher. So what when you first started in school for this degree in education, what did your heart feel like? Like, what did your inner core feel like? Because now you're pursuing what you want and not holding on to what your father would have wanted you to do. So how did you change in the midst of that pursuit?
I had to change and accept my own identity. I had to learn and, you know, have a one-to-one. And is it my father's legacy that I'm living, or is it a legacy that I want to live through my family or for myself, for my family?
Yeah.
And doing that, I came to the conclusion that yes, though this is what he wanted from me, but this is what I want.
Yeah.
And I think I learned a lot and grown in that, because accepting that was hard because the guilty feelings that come into hand.
Yeah.
Like, if my father was alive, would he accept? He would not accept.
Yeah.
But coming to terms where, like, this is my life. You know, I made decisions. I got to own up to it. And I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And I know that regardless of it, he would be happy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Culturally speaking, I know, you know, that, you know, your culture is very much respectable to their elders, and you know, just want to make them proud and follow what they want you to do. You know, live the life that they kind of envisioned you to have. In the process of you pursuing what you wanted, did you feel any guilt along the way?
Yes.
You did.
I did feel guilt. and I struggled with it for a little bit. But when you're grieving, you also struggle with guilt.
Yeah.
You struggle with depression. You struggle with anger, with acceptance.
Yeah.
And you know, in that phase, I had to accept that this is what it is, and accept that, you know, I'm good at this.
Yeah. I love that. How did you like teaching?
I love it. I was teaching, I taught ESL for English Second Language.
Okay.
And then I did special ed for a while, which is good. And I think that in doing so, it connected me a lot. And when they saw someone that they were able to connect with, that spoke their language, they felt like, okay, I can open up to her, I can talk to her. You know, I feel comfortable asking her a question because I know that whether in English or in Spanish, she would be able to understand me and help me. Yeah,
yeah, and I'm sure you took, you know, a lot of what you saw, you know, when you were growing up, and you perfected it, you made it better, and also something that could engage with the kids better, as well as the fact that you were raising your daughter and taking her to school and working with her and doing all those things that she needed. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it, because, you know, that's a hard job. It really, really is. So tell me, because I know you're very passionate about community, about women's empowerment, about mental health. Did you struggle, you know, growing up with any mental health issues, things that maybe you didn't even realize you had until you became an adult? Or was mental health just something that you felt was more prevalent now that, you know, you're an adult, that you're seeing that we do have these issues in the world and they need to be tackled?
I'm going to be honest that when I was teaching, I saw a lot of it in my students, and I did shift careers into mental health. But it wasn't until when I went into the field of mental health that I knew what the barriers were in my home.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, you know, whatever happens here stays here.
Yeah.
And the family secrets.
Yeah.
You know, you can't talk to anybody.
Yes.
And that in itself, for a person, you know, I would see my mom.
Right.
Not saying anything, and I knew when I got into the field that there was something more going on.
Yeah.
After I graduated, you know, my mom ended up getting sick, and I ended up caring for her because, you know, all this, I felt it was an obligation to, you know, and I wanted to.
Right.
I really too, because I really wanted to be there for her.
Right.
So I was able to talk to her and see that, yes, mental health was there. It's just something that wasn't spoke about.
Yeah.
And when mental health was discussed in that era, it was introduced as a place where people with severe problems, like back then it wasn't called autism,
Right.
but they had a separate place where they have children who were autistic or adults autistic, or had severe like schizophrenia.
Right.
And those are things that my family was like, no, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
You know, because we don't believe in that.
Right.
We don't believe in what's going on. If they felt that religion is gonna, like, pray about it, you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Everything's gonna be okay. And it's, yes.
Yeah.
But when you learn that that silence that my mom had wasn't just because she was being silent, because there was more something, there was more of a deep-rooted issue, then you understand it more.
Yeah.
Or when Dad would come home, you know, from a long day of work, frustrated, where is that frustration coming from?
Right.
So again, those are things that are not spoken about, but when you're in that environment and as an adult and as a professional seeing that, my biggest thing is like, we didn't have an outlet.
Right.
So not having that outlet creates anxiety.
Yes.
So I can see the anxiety in me, like when certain things happen, I'm like, no, I gotta talk to somebody. Where's my social support?
Yeah.
Who can I reach out to and have these conversations with and feel comfortable with?
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, mental health is a big thing, because it was a big barrier in the 70s and 80s. You wouldn't talk about it because, you know, you do want, the first thing that came to mind is hospitalization, what the community is going to think.
Yes.
If you're taking medications, or she's in delicate conditions, you can't talk to her, you got to leave her alone.
Yeah.
And even postpartum, it wasn't talked about, depression. It's just something that she's going through, but she's going to be okay.
Exactly. You're absolutely right. I experienced that in my family as well, that, you know, once you leave this house, you don't say nothing, you don't talk about what goes on in here, no one actually dealt with any of the underlying issues. And, you know, all it does is just keeps growing within the family dynamic, and it's really unfortunate, but it's a stigma, and again, they didn't know the resources and the tools that were available, and if they did, they wouldn't take advantage of them, unfortunately. So I'm so glad that you see that, and you're a huge proponent of it, I'm sure, within your family now, and you're sort of breaking that stigma also.
Yes,
right?
I am. In my family, you know, it's having that conversation and telling them that depression is not just a person that's always sleeping and sad. Depression can be a person that's angry. Depression could be a person, you know, that doesn't know how to express themselves, or even that silent person that doesn't talk much.
Yes.
Like, what's really going on?
Yeah.
You know, and introducing them to something different out of what they're used to, and educating them.
Right.
So when my grandfather found out, he was shocked. And I was like, no, Grandpa, don't worry. Everything's going to be okay.
I'm not going to be analyzing everyone.
Yes, and I told my family, I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this here. I was like, this is just my profession.
Yes. Oh, man. Well, how important is it for your community, you know, to have, you know, mental health, you know, outlets for them and resources? Because I know you're a psychotherapist, so how important is that?
It's very important. In the job that I do, when I work with children, and I have to work with the parents, it's about educating them. It's about telling them, okay, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
What is your understanding of mental health, or what is your understanding?
Yeah.
So like that, I understand where they're coming from.
Right.
And then provide, you know, the psychoeducation part to it. Like, okay, so what about if I tell you, you know, that it could mirror this way?
Yeah.
All these behaviors could be because of this. You know, let's say, you know, let's talk about it. You know, let's talk about it, have a conversation.
Yeah.
And just having a conversation, they open up and they more accepted. Receiving, as opposed to me going into the session and saying, well, your child has this and this and that, and as a father, mother, you got to do this and this and that.
Right.
It's not very welcoming.
Yeah, it's
because
not.
parents are like, no, you're not going to tell me.
Yeah.
So with mental health, it's a lot of education, but when I advocate for mental health, is bringing awareness, but also that it's okay, you know, not to be okay.
Exactly.
Because we're always, when people ask you, oh, how are you?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
But deep down, you're not. You're going through a lot. You don't want to say it.
Exactly. And you're just masking the feeling. But it is okay to not be okay sometimes. And it's also okay to reach out to counselors and to reach out to therapists and whatever other resources there are out there in order for you to heal the hurt. Because I'm telling you, you holding on to it is just going to transfer it to your child and their child, and it's never going to get handled. So I'm so glad that you're doing that, especially, you know, in your community, because just like with mine, it was buried. If you had an issue, you would just call the name, they go to the hospital, they take a pill, and we don't talk about it, and that's it. And these people are hurting, and we need to help them with their hurt. So I'm so glad that you are now this amazing psychotherapist in your community, but you're also the New York, let me make sure I got this right, the New York League of Puerto Rican Women Incorporated president and CEO. So I love it. I need you to tell me a little about what that is. What do you do? What does it mean for the Puerto Rican community? Let's talk about that for a second.
Of course. So, with the New York League of Puerto Rican Women, how I became involved is they gave me an opportunity to have a scholarship through them. And that was through my bachelor's program. And I was like, I want to give back.
I love it.
I was like, I want to be part of it. I want in, all in. And I was a board member.
Okay.
Then from a board member, I was part of the executive department, and then vice president to president.
Wow.
Yes, we have a new team now, but our goal with this, and which I love, is the education aspect. Educating, like our motto is educate a woman and you educate a family.
I love that.
Yes.
That is so true. That is so true. Pour into a woman and you will pour into a nation. I love it. So go
Yes.
ahead.
So in doing that, right, I felt the need to, that was my way of giving back to the Puerto Rican Latina community. You know, where I can, yes, I'm a therapist on the side, but I can also mentor.
Yeah.
I can support. I can, you know, help a person, regardless of a female, regardless of their age, go back to school. I had this conversation yesterday at Hostels, and I was telling them, you know, it's about working with the single moms, giving them that encouragement, working with that mother, with that wife, where they're no, whether they want to go back into the work field or not, or go back to work, like get educated, working with even persons that have limitations, disabilities, where they're like, is there a college available for me that I can go to? And working with women who have retired, who have empty nests, and like, now what? I've given it all. And that's what we do. It's just like, we guide you, we educate you, but we also help you with the scholarship.
I love that.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? We'll help you.
And their scholarships is to whatever academic institution that they're interested in going into. So what, is there an age requirement, an age limit to be awarded or even be considered for this scholarship?
We usually ask each applicant to be already enrolled in school.
Okay, all right.
And to at least have one semester. Because if we're going to give a scholarship, we want to make sure that we give it out to the school and that, you know, you're there. But if, let's say, you're having a challenge where you can't, we'll work with you. You know, we just need that one semester just to
show that you're serious.
Yes.
And that you're actually putting in the work.
Correct.
I love that. So I've seen that you've helped a lot of young ladies, over 140 scholarships given. People are coming back. Are they mentoring with the program? Are they giving back in any way to your program, to the organization?
Yeah, I have this year my chief financial officer.
Nice.
She was a scholarship recipient.
Oh, nice.
And, you know, that was her, she felt that she wanted to give back too. And she's like, I want to give back. I'm all in.
Right.
You know, and we also have a board member, 2 board members also, that have asked to be part of the team.
I love that.
And they was like, I want in. And I was like, good.
You
The more the
see?
merrier. I was like, and we all have different talents. We all have different things to bring. You know, one does domestic violence, one does awareness, one does finance, you know, education. So it's like real estate, and then we all come together. Yes.
I love that. And I love the fact that they're all saying that I want in, which means that this organization is doing a lot of good work. I am so happy and proud of everything that you're doing, my friend. Now, I mentioned to you, you know, earlier that I know that you've been through some challenges and changes. You're a single mom. Time is winding down, and I just want to ask, your relationship with Nija Howard, which is our mutual friend who I love dearly, and you were part of the Thoughts magazine. I think we have a picture. You actually was an honoree and received an award. Tell me a little about your connection to Nija's organization and how important it is for the community.
My connection with Nija is that we went to school together.
Nice.
And we were doing mental health. And we're both single moms. So one year we were selected of a group of like a large group to go to under us to travel, study abroad.
Oh, nice.
And you know, we were in the same room and we were talking, and we had so much similarities, so much things. We were both single mothers. She has a son, I have a daughter. We were talking about our vision board, and she was talking about what she wants to do, and I was like, you know what? I'm there for you. I am there for you. When we graduated, we introduced our paths as to what was our next steps. But we always told each other, let's connect. So when we connected with what we already had established that we said we were going to do. And I was like, I'm going to support you all the way, all the way. Because I believe in women helping women. And like I said, business helping business and building a stronger community together. You know, I'm happy for your success, LeShawn. I'm happy for Nija's success. And I feel that all of us, we have a story to share.
That's right.
But we could do it together as a team and not a competition. We will get it
You're right. You're absolutely right. So Thoughts Magazine and you supporting her organization, how important is her organization for single parents, for single moms, and what she's doing?
I think, excuse me, I think her organization is very important in the sense that her focus is on single young men and persons of color, the BIPOC community. And like she mentioned, you know, she has a magazine featuring a lot of people in the community.
Yes.
But when I go to a doctor's office, a lawyer's office, or when I go to a therapy or whatever office, a teacher's lounge, where is her magazine? Why isn't there?
Yeah.
Why am I seeing all these other magazines?
Yeah.
I want to see more of her magazine.
Yes.
And when she introduced the idea, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna help you with that. So it's just like, where can I help Thoughts Magazine, Young Men Strong, and in their mission and how we can work at the word.
Yeah.
And it's by helping with each other. Like at my job, I told my boss, I was like, I'm gonna order a magazine, we're gonna have it here. So when people come in, I want them to see the stories. And then in the community, I have a magazine that I want to be here.
Yeah.
In the hair salon, I have a magazine that I want here.
That's right. And just keep support and spreading the word. That is so important.
Yes.
Oh my God, Eunice, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I wish we had more time. We're going to put up your information. You have got to come back, my friend. This young lady is doing big things. New York League of Puerto Rican Women. She is the president CEO. Please follow her on Instagram. Please reach out to her on her org. And I didn't want to leave your personal email. So they could just reach out to the info at NYPL. PR.W, right?
NYPRL. I get confused too. NYPRW.org.
Aw. So real quick, just share with us real quick, what would you like to share from your heart for 15 seconds or less?
15 seconds or less, I want to share that we are in this together, that as a BIPOC community, excuse me, as a BIPOC community, if we work together, we can make it strong. If I support you and you support me, we're going to make it.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to make it.
And she's determined to.
Yes, because I believe in you, I believe in Nija, I believe in my boss's mission too. I believe in a lot of women who are trying to make it out there.
Yes.
And with this organization, it's a nonprofit, and we receive donations. We don't get grants.
Yeah.
So what we receive is what we give.
Yeah.
Just like Nija, whatever little bit that you can give makes a difference.
Yeah.
A big difference.
I love it. Thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here. We are going to get real quick to the Dare to Be You. And the Dare to Be You is: a determined person doesn't find it hard to succeed. They find it hard to stop trying. And that's exactly what my beautiful friend literally shared with us today. It's just hard to stop trying. You have to keep going. You have to pursue your dreams. You have to do it without fear, and you have to do it without limitations. And that's what you've done. Regardless of what life throws you, you throw back harder. And you let everyone know that your dreams, your purpose, and your passion that God put inside of you, you will accomplish them, especially when you have the support of the family and the team that you had. So I want to thank you so much for being here. There's so much more for us to talk about.
Yes.
We will, because my friend is coming back. I didn't get to show you all the pictures of the awards and everything else that she's won, but we will be having you back. In the meantime, I want you guys to have a wonderful evening. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Our Unity. Please remember that peace and love is in the palm of our hands. So let's go out there and be some love, give some love, and share some love. I'll see you next week on Our Unity. And in the meantime, say good night. We love you.
We love you.
Strong Island Entertainment.